What's up, guys? Gonna do another 15-minute video, or 15 minutes or less. Why is it cloudy? Ooh, I think it's because my smudge. Anyways, this is a quick video on the this is gonna be specifically on racism. So what I decided I want to start out with was the whole idea of the like collective narcissism, right? Group narcissism. So roughly the concept is basically there's like an admiration, a strong sense of like identification, or like obsession, like with yourself. I feel like race is like a cultural, social thing, or basically collective narcissism is an not obsession, but it's a strong preference and admiration of characteristics of yourself. But when it comes to collective narcissism, this is usually with groups of people, so like a race, ethnicity, culture. Usually what so I'm not an expert on any of this, but I decided to spit it because I think I've breezed over the concept in other videos, but you know, all my shit, I wipe my shit, so you know, it's better to do it this way. Or it's like, you know, you wouldn't know what I went over earlier. Basically the problem that can occur with that is if you're in like a social hierarchy, or if you're in like an area where there are rankings based off of certain characteristics, which in this case situation you would be white. What happens is this sense of superiority that comes from you having such admiration in that trait, what that leads you to doing is treating other people away, under the impression that, you know, they're lower than you. Now, it may not even occur through that way. Some of your microaggressions may be indicative of you thinking you're better than people, right? This is a common thing that they say with like white privilege, right? Like, you're white, you kind of don't get a lot of things. For example, you kind of don't get things. It's cultural relativism. You don't take it into account. And part of it is, you know, they're being a victim of their own identity. Not really their fault per se, but it's partially their fault, right? One thing is like, hey, you're white, hey, can I touch your hair? Like, it's so cool, right? Or like, you're white, so like you don't ever have people asking you like, hey, like, what country are you from, or what state are you from, or are you Asian? Like, what kind of Asian? Like, these are things that may come from like collective narcissism, right? For sure. The emphasis on this is for the riots. So think about this. Think about in a world where all the roles were reversed, and there were people of other races who also had an admiration for themselves, and they can engage in actions based off of that superiority kind of complex that they have, that collective narcissism. It's like toxic, right? If black people were part of the socially dominant class, is that possible to treat people a certain way, you know, be so used to you being the norm and everything represented in your favor, and then seeing other people get it? Would that be possible if you were a part of another group of people? Can it happen to religions? Can it happen to different races? And it is true. One of the reasons why I'm like a racial abolitionist, I should have been more clear at this at the beginning, but it doesn't matter. It'll make sense, right? One of the reasons why I'm a racial abolitionist and why I don't agree with any of the admiration for your traits of like your race and your culture is because it's cool to be happy that you're unique, right? But when you'd be willing to argue that some of these unique traits make you better than people, and it leads again to some actions where you think that you're better than people, you may not hire people because of a certain thing, you may treat people because of a certain way, these cause negative impacts. And on a grand scale, they can be real bad. One of the reasons I don't really support the race shit is because I'm not a person who like, where when it comes to my identity, my race isn't a really big thing. I love being black, but is it something that would end my life where I'd be sad if I got a genetics test and I found out I was partially Asian? None of these things would be true, right? Because in terms of my identity, what I take pride in, the actions that I engage in, it's not really centered around my race, right? And many of the actions that I engage in, I make sure I don't want to be like, hey, I'm a guy, like I'm part of the socially dominant classes guys. You kind of, you know, again, like the concept of you being more admired with yourself, you having a stronger view of yourself, this like obsession, it'll lead you to engaging in actions that impact other people. So like, hey, like I'm a guy, I run shit. Women, now they want to get rights to vote. This has happened in many different examples, but what made me make this video was hopefully with my explanation you can see how it can be a bad thing, right? It can be you can see how it would be a bad thing. It's still recording. The video that I saw like for CNN was showing like examples of the collective narcissism, right? Where like white people already do it, black people are trying to get basic rights that they have, and they feel that they're actually losing the ground, right? They feel that their identity, that who they are, the utility they gained out of all these characteristics, it's like an attack on them. And the reality is these people never had these things that you had to begin with. So it's not you losing ground per se, it's people getting the same shit that you got, and like you've been in part of the higher class for such a long time that it seems like you're being usurped or some shit, but it's not, right? You're giving people the same shit that other people have, so it's a good thing. One of the toxic examples you saw of this collective narcissism was the CNN video where the guy was like, hey, look what's happening. They're not, he goes, they're not supporting us. He said, Supreme Court isn't doing anything for us. We can't do it. Us, we have to do it. And he beats his chest and he goes, us, right? With any group of people, you can definitely find people having a toxic admiration for a characteristic based off their race, ethnicity, culture, gender, any of these things that will make you like under a protected class, and that leads to shitting on other people that don't have it. You had people who have a different identity of what America is. They have a different idea of what us is, and in many cases, the idea to those white people, to a man like that, what he was implying was us, right? White people, our state, our nation, right? This bleeds right into the white supremacy, right? The white supremacy is collective narcissism, right? That's what it is. If you look at any literature about collective narcissism, group narcissism, you also see that it can also happen with black people. So when you ever hear that black people can't be racist or blah, no, right? If you could understand what I explained, and if you don't, you can read it. If you look at what I explained, that is a thing that that everybody does. It's just that so in the hypothetical, if black people were to be swapping their roles, yeah, that's a thing that can be done, right? Do I support it? No. People now, they're getting don't put in jail and shit. Like the FBI is giving out rewards for people who were able to provide some information for any of these people who were thugs, terrorists on Wednesday. And one of the people you saw were one of the fucking Viking dudes. That was an example of collective narcissism as well, right? Leif Erikson, one of the old white people that used to fucking, one of the first settlers in, not one of the first settlers, the oldest instance of white people being in America was Leif Erikson. So when you see those Viking people, that is like, oh, right, strong man. The entire idea is you have a lot of people who are racially conservative, they have a strong admiration with themselves, and they believe that the things that their idea of America is different than what they want, it is different than what people are trying to create. Wait, let me redo that. They think that America is something that is theirs, and their idea of America is only for white people. And as a response to them losing ground, quote unquote, which is basically minorities getting rights, right? Migrants coming in, oh, our people are dying out, right? People are getting basic rights like having the ability to migrate and all these things, and you're saying, hey, we're losing resources, right? We got to protect our own, right? These the whole problem with the whole white supremacy shit is people have constantly made an effort to whistle out, hey, we are part of the people at the top. We are losing our space. This is ours. You can't take it. And you saw clear examples in that video. And you see clear examples now of just white supremacy. I think people should get informed and make an effort to read a bit more on collective narcissism or just like white supremacy, because if you see a person who's a Trump supporter now, most of the time they're going to have one of these views, right? There are cultural changes happening around that they don't enjoy. There are people with different backgrounds who come in that are different than theirs, right? They may refer to different examples in other countries where, hey, white people can do this, right? Why people in Asia can do these things? Why can't me as like a black person, or why can me as a white person live in a state where there's only Asian people? Well, if you actually look at the collective narcissism in Asia, that's actually impacting their population, like suicide rates and all that shit. So they actually want more people to come in because some of that conservatism, which can be used in everybody of every protected class, is leading to negative results. When they're pushing for this narrative to maximize their race, so many other people suffer. And the wild shit is that some people on the other end are like confused that they're getting compared to this shit. Real quick, I'm gonna end off on this. I saw a report about, in the, so, you know, basically, let me summarize that collective narcissism thing. So basically, people kind of have a strong admiration with themselves based off random characteristics, engaged in actions that can range from micro behaviors to just outright them saying it and actually going through it,